Hello again, I'm Flora, and this is the third episode of our video series on piano playing. And after the staccato episode last week, and one of my students again came forward and then asked me for more techniques. And I thought, yes, I mentioned rotary movement, but she wanted to know more on rotary movement and not only how to use rotary movement to play certain musical features, and she also wanted to know how we can use it in the advanced repertoire, especially preparing for her diploma. And so let us then get on to talk about rotary movement today. Now let's start with a piece that we normally use to teach students of about grade 3 or grade 4 level. And this is Mozart's Sonata in C. And let me demonstrate the first 4 bars. And you can see from the left hand, the accompaniment is the popular Alberti based kind of accompaniment that was very much evident in most of the repertoires from the classical period. And then why do I use this to demonstrate rotary movement? Because most students tend to make mistakes here, which I have kept it for so many years, and I think today is the best time for me to tell you why students tend to make this mistake. Because they tend to play it in legato only. When they look at this figure, and as I mentioned before, I do not blame them of making the Alberti bass sounds like this, because if you look at the notes on the score, it comes one by one, and the C, and then the G, and then the E, and then the G. They wouldn't know. If you play Alberti bass, you have to combine the legato techniques and the rotary movement that you should know in order to be able to make the rotary movement sound smooth. And not only that, you have the liberty to be able to focus on certain note to bring it out. For example, like the bass here. So in this case, the chord here is actually C chord. And then what is the bass for C chord is the C. So by playing it that way, you see that I have a little bit of stretch and leading onto the left side when I play the C. And because I use the rotary movements, so as such is that it didn't sound forced like this. It sounds like it was kind of weaved into the line without stand out too much, but still give a good support to the chord progression here. So you can see that if you work on your rotary movement well, you'll be able to balance this line well with your right hand cantabile melody here, and be able to then make your accompaniment sounds idiomatically like the classical period's kind of sound. Yes, so now let us then start off by looking deeper into the rotary movement. Now, how do you do rotary movement? Same as before, 5 fingers firmly on the keys, and basically spread your fingers firmly on 5 notes and make sure the position is curved and is rounded in a way that it is supported well by the palm. And take note what I'm going to do later. It kind of make you recall what you have done in the legato technique. But of course, now there's more movement here, especially here. I'm not turning it from the elbow like this. This is more for advanced rotary movement or any big sound that you want to do with the whole hands, with the support of your shoulder. But I'm talking about simple rotary movement where the movement is basically generated not quite from the elbow, but it is what we call the radial ulnar joint over here. You can see that it's here, not so much from the elbow. It's the radial ulnar joint that helps you to do the rocking movement. If you were to apply it in the Alberti base, you can start doing the rocking movement using your left hand first, and then the E, G as well, and then combine these two pairs of notes together. Remember to keep your fingers firm. Whatever you do, the fingertips and the rounded position are generally the positions that you need for all kinds of techniques, except a few. We will talk about that in the future. And then so this is the Alberti base. And what about the advanced repertoire? Now I'm going to demonstrate to you a piece by Beethoven. This is the Pathetic Sonata, first movement. And this is after the slow introduction and going into the con brio of the first movement. And this is what we call the tremolo movement. And it happens very frequently in advanced repertoire. So in this case, and most students find it tiring if you're going to only use fingers to play the tremolo. And plus, some students do not have very good rounded position. And for example, if they create tensions over here, and at the same time playing the tremolo in that way, you'll see that it will create a lot of tensions on your hand. So the trick here is to reduce the tension over here and then focus on the rounded position so that you'll be able to support the weight, and then make sure you keep your fingers near to the keys and do a quiet staccato. Of course, for this piece, there is quite a lot of differences and varieties of the dynamic tones, so you have to make sure that you keep it quiet and then only bring it up when you have the crescendo or in the louder passage. And so this is a tremolo. And where else you can find this in the advanced repertoire? Another advanced repertoire that you can find the rotary movement being used here is the Tempest Sonata by Beethoven again. Now this time, this is the right hand tremolo. And this Tempest Sonata has this rapid tremolo movement for most of the first movement. And so if you only use this, you're gonna find yourself really tired after a while. So this is one of the most important way where pianists can prevent themselves from being tired playing tremolo, because a lot of very advanced pieces definitely need players to understand the rotary movement well. And another type of tremolo that I would like to present you is from the Beethoven Sonata again, Opus 2, number 3. And we are looking at this sort of rotary movement, for example, like this. Yes, so this is towards the end of the Opus number 3, first movement. And in this case, let us look at the figure slowly. And of course, one glance at it, you will see that it is made up of a series of octaves. If I'm going to freeze the octave in this way. And so this is basically a tremolo movement on a few octaves that are joined together. Now, one of the ways that I suggest that you can start off by practicing your stretch first, like this. But this is not the only way, because ultimately you will have to basically play it in the tremolo style. So one of the ways is to practice your rotary movement by just focusing on one octave. And that is not the only way to practice this, because most students will find that they can't play the notes too accurately, because they seem to then find themselves creating too much smudges like this. Yes, so they frequently ask me, I have done the octave tremolo practice that you have asked me to do, but I still cannot kind of string all these octaves together well. I said, the reason why you have not be able to do so is because you have basically ruled out and ignored the other intervals that happen in between certain notes. For example, like the first octave from C to the high C is an octave. But don't forget, you have another interval here. When you stretch from C to the lower B. And what is the interval? Yes, it's a 9. And after the 9, then you go back to the octave. And what happens here when you try to play the B from the C? When you try to join the B and the C, and you find that you are not in an octave stretch. You are in a 7 stretch. And then back to an octave, go back to 7 here again, an octave, go back to 7. And then you have another 9 here. See that? Okay, F to E is a 9. And then before you go back to octave, and here what happened? You have a 10 here. See? See that? The F to the D is a 10. So in this case, you find it difficult to manage it because you have not thought about the different intervals that happen in between. So how to make it accurate? Apart from what I said earlier, you also have to still practice the interval of a 9 in the tremolo way. Of course, for the 7 is generally easier. And then don't forget the 10 here. See that? You need to do it with both hands. And for the 10, you have to stretch it well. Practice the way that you understand the stretch. Yes, so when you do that a few more times, then you'll be able to understand and have a physical sensation of the stretch that you need to manage for these 4 rapid tremolo movement in the Beethoven Sonata Opus 2 number 3. And so this is about the rotary movement. And I hope that you will find that rotary movement an eye-opener for you to further improve your techniques so that you won't feel too tired, especially when you need to play the tremolo passages in your repertoire. So till we meet again, in the next video, we're going to talk about another technique which we call lateral movement. So see you then, goodbye.